we go. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the 7th anniversary of Drive. We're delighted this morning to welcome our first guest speaker, who's Jo Stansfield. Jo runs a company called Inclusioneering, which reflects her interests of inclusion and also her background in engineering. And Jo also has had an ongoing interest in AI for quite some time and is a volunteer at an organisation called ForHumanity. So Jo, thank you very much for joining us this morning. What would you like to tell us about AI and what's happening at the moment?
Oh, well, it is my pleasure to be here. May I share my screen? Because I find slides are helpful to structure, but I'll try and keep the slides light and the discussion as interactive as possible. We've got kind of 2 breakouts planned, so lots of time for you to input your thoughts and kind of reflect on the things that we're talking about with it. Anne, can you give me screen sharing permission?
Yeah, you should have that now.
Oh, brilliant, thank you. So first up, I'd like to say happy birthday, Drive. I mean, this has been such a lovely network to be a part of, even though I know I've been very absent from an awful lot of meetings. You know, lots of you don't see me so often. I've been busy doing a juggling act of being a half-time employee and half-time running Inclusioneering. I'm actually going to be full-time on Inclusioneering from the beginning of June. So hopefully you'll be able to see lots more of you and get much more involved with the community and, I don't know, give back some of the support that you've all given me. You know, it's just been wonderful actually being part of it. So yeah, thank you all, and thank you, Anne, for, you know, creating Drive. It's really been a brilliant support to me. So with that, let's go on to what we're actually going to talk about today. So we will start off with AI is awesome. I'm sure lots of us have seen lots of really amazing AI developments recently, and lots of, you know, things that we're all kind of excited to dive in and use and kind of get playing with. But trouble is, it isn't always awesome. And so we'll look at some of the kind of risks and some of the things that have been emerging and actually happening that have caused, I guess, some different impacts on different communities who are impacted by what this AI is doing. So kind of touching into what ForHumanity does, or kind of share a bit of a framework of how we can actually think about some of the risks of it and how we can understand what we can actually do to mitigate those risks. What kind of guardrails can we put up to kind of keep AI working so that it's beneficial for humanity, as the name of the charity suggests. And then we'll talk a bit more specifically about what ForHumanity is actually kind of putting in place with independent audit and body of knowledge and different ways to, I guess, keep that kind of control and governance and oversight of what AI is up to. How does that all sound? Any kind of questions before we get started? All right, so I'm just going to do a bit of screen rearranging so I can see all of you and my slides at the same time. Excuse me a sec. It's determined not to show me everything. Nope. We'll get there. Sorry about this. Nope, it is totally determined. All right. So I'll just kind of talk a little bit to introduce, but really I want to hear from you on the AI is awesome topic. You know, and quite a lot of times recently, you know, I'm sure with all of the news that has been happening about ChatGPT and all of the kind of new things that are being released, you know, I find myself stopping and wondering, it's like we're living in the future. You know, the things that were just unbelievably futuristic, you know, growing up, they're all actually happening. You know, we have cars that can drive themselves. We've got AI that can talk to us. You know, all of this future imagination from kind of Star Trek and Star Wars and the devices they have actually exist. You know, how did we get here? Now, I sort of based some of this presentation on, I don't know, a talk I put together probably about 1.5 years ago. And my first thought was, well, I can probably, you know, kind of make use of some of that. You know, I can start from where we were 1.5 years ago. And actually looking at this slide, this was what was totally amazing to me 1.5 years ago. And it's already astonishingly out of date. So some of you may not have seen some of these things before, but they were some of my favorite things as of 1.5 years ago. This person here doesn't exist. It's actually from a website called thispersondoesn'texist.com. You can go to the website and it auto generates for you a photo of somebody who doesn't exist, but looks totally realistic and convincing. Really quite astonishing how it can generate faces like this. And actually with the new kind of developments with DALL-E and Midjourney and others that generate images, maybe this has become a bit more normal. But the ability to generate photorealistic people from nowhere, it has just astonished me. Next thing across was, again, just about a year and a half ago, an article in The Guardian that was written by AI, admittedly with a bit of human editing, but a year and a half ago, we already had the ability to be generating text and writing and publishing articles that was all auto-generated, made by AI. Now, the last one there is one that's very silly, and I totally love this one, and I'm probably going to get myself completely rehooked on this one again, just by reminding myself it exists. So you see these little kind of cartoony creatures with their mouths open. They're a blob opera, right? So this is a Google tool. You can browse to the blob opera page, and essentially just by kind of clicking and dragging around, you can make them sing different notes and tunes, and they can kind of sing different vowels if you go forwards and backwards. And I sing in a choir, and so I just like totally love the blob opera. It's the most ridiculous but kind of fun and entertaining kind of AI I've ever come across. So I've got an afternoon, I think, coming up of playing with the blob opera just to, you know, make some new tunes again. But on the more kind of serious side, this slide here is some of the things that AI has been used for that's a bit more practical, actually, and kind of overlaps into the work that I'm doing, and Norris, probably the work that you're doing to some extent a lot more as well. So kind of in industry, actually AI is getting some proper serious usage for helping organizations to optimize their energy usage and their resource usage, and in the way that they're designing kind of plants and operations, so that we're actually achieving far greater reductions in emissions and energy usage and all of these kind of things. So AI, as well as these kind of fun, entertaining things, has actually got some real important applications that are beginning to take off, and we're beginning to see more and more organizations actually make use of these kind of tools to change the way that they're working to be much more sustainable. So this is a use of AI that, you know, I'm really excited by, you know, really, yeah, I can't wait to see how this develops actually, and the things that can be achieved as a result of having that technology. Now, of course, I've talked about ChatGPT and Midjourney, and these are the things that are really big right now. You know, these have exploded in the last few months. You know, I think it was only November last year that ChatGPT was released, and suddenly we all realized, wow, AI can actually sound like a person. It will be passing a Turing test that it is convincing that this sounds like something that a human has written. So you can see on screen, I tried asking ChatGPT to write me an agenda for a presentation about AI. It came up with some quite good content. I have to say it was very boring and corporate about it, so I totally ignored what it had to say. But I mean, it knows an astonishing amount of stuff, and actually with some kind of care on how inputs are written, you know, people are beginning to become ChatGPT engineers, so they really can write prompts in a way that they can get really extraordinary outputs from it. The other thing that you can see on screen is some pictures of some rather strange looking horses. This was inspired by a comment someone made on my LinkedIn post advertising for this about, you know, how can we make sure that we're using AI responsibly? And their comment was, hasn't that horse already bolted, Jo? So, this sounds very visual. So we made use of Midjourney, which is a generative AI tool for making images, and put in / imagine a horse representing artificial intelligence that has bolted. And this is what it came up with. I mean, they're lovely pictures, you know, totally astonishing what AI is able to create for us. So that's my little intro of my tour through AI in the last couple of years. What I'd like to do now is to come into some breakout groups and hear from all of you. What has excited you about AI? What's been catching your attention? Are you using AI in your work at all? So, and if we can have some breakout groups now, spend maybe 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll look at some of the kind of the bits that go on from this, some of the risks and some of the things that emerge from this huge proliferation in AI.
Okay, thanks, Jo.